Hi everyone, welcome to Learn Business Analysis series, and I remain your humble facilitator, Victor Ndukwe. As we all know, we've been having this series for like the past sessions, right? We've had about 4 sessions now, if I'm not mistaken, and we've been looking thoroughly at the fundamentals and the foundational concepts of business analysis. We've been able to look at the knowledge areas, the key competencies, some techniques, as well as some of the skill sets that you'll be needing as a business analyst. This series will be moving on to module 2, where it will be much more hands-on. And by hands-on, I mean we'll be doing the good stuff, we'll be rolling our sleeves and getting our hands dirty with case studies, with walkthroughs, learning how to use some tools. I'll be demoing some tools with us or for us in this second module, as well as diving into different cases, like practical cases, so that we can understand some of this concept on a much more practical level, and we'll be starting with that today. So today we'll be looking at the business analysis life cycle, and then we'll be having a case study. So basically, business analysis life cycle, it's very similar to what we did in the knowledge areas. If you remember, we have 6 knowledge areas. I believe we all know that. We have the strategy analysis, we have BA planning and monitoring, elicitation and collaboration, we have the requirement design and requirement analysis and design definition. We have solution evaluation, and we have requirements lifecycle management. These are the 6 knowledge areas. What business analysis lifecycle is basically when you are on a project as a BA, what are the nitty gritties of things that you're going to be doing across that project, from the beginning of the project, where you are assigned a project or however that project came to you, which you're going to see, down to the end of the project. What will you be doing on a day-to-day as a business analyst? We're going to be seeing that, and we are going to understand this using a case study, right? So we'll be guided by this content. We would introduce the module 2, which you already did. So basically, module 2 is going to be much more hands-on and much more practical, like I already said. And we'll be having, we'll be learning things like, we'll be diving into some of the things that I've learned about, the theoretical things I've learned about. We'll be diving into them in more details. We'll be learning about more techniques. We'll be learning about our requirements gathering, prototyping, root cause analysis. We'll be learning our modeling, process maps and all. However, we'll be doing it in a very sequential way. That's why I want us to learn the business analysis life cycle first, because it is this BA life cycle that will show us how you move across a project as a BA. Like I said, it's similar to the knowledge areas, but you are going to see the difference as we proceed in this session. So we'll be learning that to establish our learning objectives as always. We'll do a brief review of the last module, that is module 1, the things we learned under module 1. I already briefly touched that. In case you are just joining, welcome to this learning series, business analysis learning series. We've had about 4 sessions where we went in depth into the fundamentals of business analysis. The videos are there in this playlist. The link to the playlist will also be in the description of this video. So I'd encourage you to watch this video so that you can learn from the beginning and understand, have a very good understanding of business analysis foundations. Then you'll be able to follow through with these subsequent sessions that will be coming. And if you're yet to subscribe, kindly do so. Subscribe to this channel. You already can attest the fact that it is a good channel that has good stuff for you as a business analysis practitioner, right? And you should also share this video with your friends, like the videos as they come, and engage, comment, right? And also turn on the notification button, that small bell sign that you see. And the reason you want to do this is so that whenever I drop new videos, you'd be able to follow through. So having said that, one of the things we'll also be looking at today is the BA life cycle in its true and most wholesome sense, right? What exactly does the BA life cycle mean? What do we do here? When you are assigned on a project, what is the first thing you start with? What is the next thing you should do? And next, like that. This would help newer BAs or BA enthusiasts right, that are assigned projects or that want to build their portfolios and are working on projects to know exactly how to move. So you don't get stranded, you don't get confused when you are thrown in a project. You know exactly what to do at every point, right? Then we'll be having a case study where we would flow across the BA life cycle on that particular case, and we end up writing a business case. So we'll be learning what the business case is in practical today. Practically, we'll be writing a business case from scratch. Then we'll conclude the session. So these are the content that will be guided by for this session. And we at the end of the session, we of course would have reviewed our last module. We do this every time. Everything we learned in the last module, we'll sort of do a recap, which I had already done. In the first module, we learned about what business analysis is. Yeah, we learned the role of a business analyst and the functions of a business analyst. We saw the key competencies of a business analyst. We saw that a business analyst have 6 underlying competencies, right? We also learned about the knowledge areas of a business analyst, and we saw that there are also 6 in number. Yeah, and then we connected all of the dots, which was the last video for module 1. We connected all of these competencies, the skills, the tools, the knowledge areas and the techniques. We covered all of them together and saw how well they relate. They also learned about some techniques that you would be using from time to time. And we had promised that we will be diving more into these techniques as standalone topics in this class in subsequent sessions, right? So you'll be seeing more of these things come into play in level 2, right? So also, by the end of the session, we should understand what is expected of you as a business analyst on any given project. So whether it is a project that you are assigned to, or is a project that you initiated yourself, or you are brought upon the project, an existing or ongoing project for whatever reason, you know exactly what to do as a business analyst, and you understand the BA life cycle in details, and you also understand it in practice. That is what you're going to learn out of this session. And we believe that by the end of the session, you should be able to have achieved all of these things that are here. Then finally, we'll be using a case study to understand what the business analysis life cycle is. And we'll be having a detailed case study of an insurance business to learn how you can do your BA life cycle and even create an artifact such as a business case from this case study. So these are the things we are looking to achieve for this session. Having said that, we can just dive right into it and get into the learning for today. What is the business analysis life cycle? This is basically what details how a BA, that's a business analyst, will function across any given project and the things that they must do. So you are a BA and you've been called and said, you've been working on this particular project. The BA life cycle is basically telling you these are the things you must do as you've been assigned on this project. These are the step by step guidance, or these are the step by step things that you must follow, right? Like I mentioned, it is similar to the BA knowledge areas, but this is much more practical. This is much more detailed than the BA knowledge areas. So for the business analysis life cycle, you are going into the project and carrying out activities that are very, very, very detailed. And you will repeat these activities across any given project. You're going to see them in details. So we'll be learning what you should do. So if I call you today and say, see, I need you to work on this project as a BA, okay, the first thing I need to do is to do this. After I'm done with this, I move to this. You can almost draw a flow of your activities across any given project. That is the BA life cycle, right? So, and there are 3 ways you can get on a project. It is either you initiate the project yourself, so maybe from observation, maybe from a value chain analysis, maybe from identifying a need, from identifying a problem within your organization, within a process, identifying bottlenecks or inefficiencies. It's possible that you've analyzed this process and you found an inefficiency, right? Or you've noticed that there is an issue to be solved, and as a business analyst that is, sorry, excuse me, and as a business analyst that is at the top of your game, you then couple all of these issues that you found into a project. This is how you initiate a project. And we are going to see what are the step-by-step things that you have to do for you to initiate a project. So when you're initiating a project, what are the things that you need to do as a BA? Right. So this is the perspective that shows how you should function as a BA when you are the one initiating a project. You know, you've mentioned that sometimes you get to start your own project, you get to initiate your own project. There's also the perspective where you are joining a project team for a new project. So a new project came maybe from management, maybe from strategy, maybe from the project management office, or maybe it was referred by a team, maybe the underwriting team or the sales or marketing team, and it's a project. And then the project manager is maybe putting their team together. So they need a BA, they need a set of development team, they need UI, UX guys, and bam, you are the BA on the project. In this case, you're not the one initiating the project, but you are part of the project team to deliver success on that project. There is also a function that is expected of you as a BA. There's how you're expected to function, which is slightly different from when you are the one initiating the project. And we are going to see this difference in the next slides. Then finally, the third way you can get on a project is maybe there is an ongoing project that I've started before now. You are not part of the project team and you're not the one that initiated it. But for some reasons, maybe they needed more hands on the BA side of things and you are then brought on board, to join an already existing project. What exactly do you do in this instance? Or a BA left or has left your organization and then the project that is ongoing lacks a BA and then you need to step in and fill the shoes of that BA, right? There are steps you should also take for this particular scenario. There are steps you should also take for you to drive the project to success. So again, this is what the business analysis life cycle entails. What exactly should you do when you are on a project from beginning to the end? So the entire life cycle of a project. What or how is a business analyst supposed to operate across the entire life cycle of a business, of a project rather? So quickly, while I may not be able to give us the different life cycle across these three scenarios, these three scenarios that I spoke about, I would sort of model it together and then explain. Don't worry, you're going to get it. It's not such a hard explanation. Basically, what it means is when you are initiating a project, right? When you are the one initiating the project, there are things that you do. When you are joining a project team, there are things that you do. And when you are joining a project team, not from the beginning, there are also things that you do. So now for the business analysis life cycle, if you are the one initiating a project, of course, you are expected to identify a business need or an opportunity. So first of all, the first thing that must have happened is that you have identified a business need or an opportunity. So maybe when you're analyzing a process, you saw that, oh, there is a problem with this, there's an inefficiency here, or you feel like if we do this more, we'll be able to expand. There's an opportunity for us here, right? The next thing you want to do is to document that problem, maybe in a problem statement, just write it down. Maybe while observing this, I figured that there is an issue with our current onboarding system. You document it. We are going to see how to write problem statements. Then the next thing is to go into that process or the team, where you observed the problem, the process owners, and then you do some level of informal feedback collection. So what this would mean is you go to maybe the onboarding team or the care team, right? And you sit with them and you observe them carry out their process to be sure that that problem that you actually identified is a real problem. So this is basically observation, right? You're observing them, you're interviewing some of them, you are getting feedback from them. It is even at this point that you get to look at documents that currently exist about that process, then when you are sure that, oh, this is a valid problem, there is indeed a problem here, the third thing you want to do is now to connect this problem that you found into connecting with a business goal or a strategic pillar within your organization. And this is important because sometimes you might find a problem. Yes, it is a problem. But within the scope of your organization strategy, you are not focused on solving that problem for now. While it is good to solve all problems, remember that we live in a real world where resources are limited, where there are constraints on time, there are constraints on budget, and there are constraints on resources, right? So you want to make sure that whatever problem you are identifying, whatever problem you are bringing forward, remember the end goal of this is that you would document this problem and you have to present it to management so that you can get their buy-in. Your goal in this instance is to get the buy-in of your stakeholders, right? So you want to ensure that for you to be able to get their buy-in, you've been able to connect this issue or this problem that you found with a business goal or with a strategic pillar that exists. So after you've done this, you then draft your business case. That is the next thing you do. You draft your business case to justify the project. So now, a business case is a document. Some organizations do not use a formal business case. They just manually or like theoretically justify a project that you are initiating. But in a real sense, in the most formal way, you draft a business case. And a business case is basically a document that has your problem statement, your proposed solution, the risk and constraint, the cost and benefits, the estimate of the cost, the timeline, the scope, and the stakeholders as well. So you draft your business case. We are going to see how to draft the business case. The next thing you want to do is to then present this your business case to your stakeholders, which is maybe your leadership or a steering committee, depending on how your organization is set up, right? You cannot approve a project on your own for it to start. You must take it to your stakeholders and then present it to them, or maybe your management, your CEO, you must get that buy-in and they must approve it. Immediately they approve the project, you now go to the next step in the life cycle, which is this is where you initiate the project and you plan the business analysis work. So here you are defining your business analysis plan. So what are the activities I'll be doing? Remember, I said this is similar to the BA knowledge area. And remember, the first knowledge area is BA planning and monitoring. So this is where you are defining your business plan. What approach will I use? What are the activities will I have? What is the timeline based on the business case you've already written? You now detail your timeline, you detail your scope, and what deliverables are to be expected from this project. You plan everything detailed. Then you identify the stakeholders you'll be working with. This is basically you setting up your team. Oh, my development team, these are the guys I'll be needing, depending on the context of the project. Some projects do not even need development, right? Some projects don't need technical development. You get to identify what stakeholders you'll be working with. You get to define your BA approach. So are you going to be using agile? Are you going to be using waterfall, or is going to be a hybrid? You define this. Again, not all projects requires these things, but I'm just giving you from an experiential perspective what happens on a project. So when you define your approach, then you set up the expectations for communication, governance, everything you basically do in your BA planning and monitoring, you do it here. This is also where you identify your initial assumptions. Okay, what are the things that you believe currently that exist or that works, that you assume that with all of these things running, my project should be fine. These are your assumptions. You also identify your risk, right? These are your constraints. What are the things that if they happen or could happen that would make my project not to be successful? Then you also define your success metric, your performance evaluation and your KPIs. And after this, you are good to go. This is for the case where you are the one that initiated the project. Now, for the case where you are brought on board, into a project, whether a new project or an existing project, the first thing you should do is to understand the business context, right? The goal here really is to even know if this project is worth your while. Because sometimes the business might think they need this, A project manager might think we need this project. It is your duty as a business analyst to understand the business context, to understand why this project is even coming up in the first place. Why are we spending so much time working on this? Provide alternatives, get enough background knowledge to then say, okay, I think it's important we should do this, or we are not ready for this at this point, or I think if we do this instead of going into this full-blown project, it will be better for us as a business. So now you've been brought upon, or you've been brought on board into a project team, and the first thing you want to do is to meet with the key stakeholders, majorly your project sponsor, right? And you're asking them questions around what is the need for this project? Why are we embarking on this project? This project that you're bringing forward to us, why are we embarking on it? What is the financial implication of this project? You're asking questions about around if what will happen if we don't do this project? If we don't go ahead with this project, what is the implication? What is the organizational objectives? What are the things you're looking to achieve with this project? What are the business goals? You ask these questions and you ensure that it is being answered, and you analyze the answer and you are sure that yes, we indeed need this project and we are going to be getting onto this project. And this is very important because there are cases where people will bring wish lists. They've gone to some place, they've seen interesting stuff that are happening outside there, and they are bringing it into your team. And if you don't properly understand the business context of this project, if it's even a contextual, like if it even fits into your own local realities as a business, you will end up taking in a project that you will not be able to meet up with because you did not do your capability assessment properly. You did not check your technological abilities to even know if you can drive this project within your business context, within your business realities, right? So you understand the business problem. Again, from the meeting you're having with your stakeholders, what exactly is the problem here? What are we trying to solve? What are we trying to achieve? What is the regulatory driving motive behind this project? Is it compliance related? You have to understand this. What is the opportunity we are trying to chase after by solving this problem, right? You clarify the project objectives and scope, and the business goals as well. What are we looking to achieve? What do we want to get? How much, when we implement this project, how much will we get? Then you also review existing documentations. Oh, have we done anything like this before? You are being curious to just understand the entire thing before you get into it, because again they say look before you do what, before you leap. So this is you basically looking before diving into the project, right? Then after you've done all of this and you're like, okay, good, I now know, I have a solid why, and I think this project should proceed. You then go ahead to initiate and plan the BA work, which is what we did in the previous one. If you remember this one that we did here, when you are the one initiating, this is where they meet. So when you are given a project, you initiate and plan the BA work. And also, whether the project is an ongoing project that you're brought upon to maybe replace an outgoing BA or join a current BA to make the work faster. You do all of these things because it is expected that the already existing BA already did all of this. So now, instead of you going to the project sponsors and repeating it, you can just ask the BA, why did this project even start? How did this project start? Who is the project sponsor? Why are we doing this? What are the goals? What are the objectives? What is the scope of this project? You ask these questions, and if you're lucky enough, the existing BA or the outgoing BA is able to clarify all of this. But in a case where they're not able to clarify all of this, you should go back to the stakeholders, the project sponsor, to say, yeah, I've been brought upon this project to replace Mr. A. I've been brought upon this project to work together with Mr. A. However, we need to tighten up one or two things in understanding the scope, the context, and the objectives of this business. And you go ahead to ask your question, and your stakeholders will be willing to give you these answers. After you've done this, of course, same thing, you initiate and plan the BA work. So here also, when you are joining an existing project, you are not planning the BA work from the scratch because it is expected that work has already been done. Now, this is a tricky one because it's not in all cases that work has already been done. Sometimes they've been doing work the wrong way. Sometimes they must have started developing stuff without even a requirement documentation. So you could come in and still do your BA work. It now depends on the reality you met on ground. If all of these things, if the existing BA or the outgoing business analyst on the project tells you, oh, we already have all of these things sorted. We have documentations, they share that with you, you go through it and you're fine. If there are clarifications, you ask. But if maybe depending on the context, the BA did not have enough time to hand over, or there was even nothing to hand over, or the project is already ongoing without a BRD, which is a business requirement document, or something for you to even understand what the context is, or what the approach is, or what the governance on the project is. As a BA that is joining that existing project, it is expected of you to create these documentations to plan the BA approach and work by yourself, right? So that going forward, you would not have any hitch. You would have a smooth and smoothly run and delivered project. Now, after all of this, we've seen how we are able to do BA work across the three scenarios that we gave initially. When I say the three scenarios, I mean these three scenarios. That is when you are joining, when you are the one initiating a project, when you are joining a project team from the scratch, and when you are joining an ongoing project, right? We'll be able to see how they meet. Now, the next thing you want to do is to engage your stakeholders. Whether you're the one initiating, whether you're joining a new project, you're joining an existing project, you want to let them know that, hey guys, this is where you're building rapport. You're not even gathering your requirements yet. This is where you're going to meet them to say, hello, I'm the newbie on this project. I'm replacing so person, and nice work on everything that has been done so far. You guys are amazing. I learned that you are responsible for this part. I learned that you are doing this, and this is what we want to achieve. You start being familiar, you start being warm, you start warming up towards them. If it's a new project, you're letting them know, guys, this project, I think this is where you should go. What do you think? You're gathering their input, their feedback, because you need them to warm up to you. You need them not to see you as a threat. You need them not to see you as someone that is coming to I too know or lead them, or they should not start seeing you as a line manager because they already have their line managers, right? So you need to build that rapport first with them, and this takes tact, right? This takes real diplomacy to be able to work with people, build that rapport first. Then you identify the different people you'll be needing, the teams that will be impacted or needed by your solution. You identify all of these, and the tools you basically be using here, use your RISI matrix, which is a tool for identifying who's responsible for different parts of your project, who is accountable, who is to be consulted, and who is to be informed. This is the RACI. Some school of thoughts have the RASCI. The S now is for supportive, right? So who is supporting this particular responsibility? We are going to see RACI charts in detail. Then another tool you can use here again is your power interest grid. This is where you are trying to understand, which of my stakeholders even have much more influence. So here you're basically analyzing your stakeholders, you're assessing them, you're identifying them, you're engaging with them to know what their mindset is, the top management guys, and not just them, you're also going top to bottom. The main process owners, the guys that are doing all of the work, you're engaging them as well to be sure that they are well carried along in this thing that you are doing. After you've done this, now, whether you are joining a project, whether you are the one starting a project, or you are building, or you are joining a project team from the scratch, or you are joining an existing project team, this is where everything convolutes. So now you must elicit, analyze, and define your requirements. Now, those stakeholders that you've met or that you've identified, you meet with them, you have sessions. We already talked about elicitation and collaboration. You elicit requirements from them. You have requirement elicitation sessions. Basically, what you are doing here is you are meeting them to say, guys, when will you be free? Can we have a session? There's a meeting, you're asking them questions. So this stuff, how would you want it to work? They're telling you what their plan is, what they want the solution to solve, what their pain points are, and you're carefully documenting everything, and you are structuring and prioritizing as well. So maybe you are joining an existing solution and there are newer requirements that are coming. Sometimes requirements come in different forms, so you need to structure it, and also prioritize it in line with the requirements that already exist. Again, this is for the case where you are this is the case where you are joining an already existing project, right? Then also, after you've gotten your requirements, and I must mention that requirements can be of four types. You have business requirement, which is like the highest level of requirements. We want to be able to achieve 20% CX, Then you have stakeholder requirements, right? Which is what your stakeholders are saying that they want to do. We are going to see requirements in details when we get to the requirement gathering part, right? Then we have the solution requirements, which could be functional or non-functional, right? This is where you have your login features, you have your performance, your usability, and all. Then we have the transition requirements. So after we've built this project, what is needed for us to move to transit from our current state to our future states? This could be like data migration, this could be like transformation of our data. This could be ensuring that the test the production is set up for us to do this, right? That is for your requirement. Then you also create models and visuals. So this is where you're now creating your process flows. So after you've gathered your requirements, you've structured and prioritized them, the next thing you want to do is start creating process flows from what you understand. Start creating visuals. This is where you create your process flows. You do your mock-ups, your wireframes and prototypes. You write your user stories, and then you then validate and verify these requirements to your stakeholders. So this is where you also do your technological feasibility. You engage the tech team to say, these are the requirements we've gathered. They've been validated and verified. Please tell us if our technological capacity right now is enough to take care of this, or are we strong enough to handle this? This vendor analysis could also come in. Or do you think we should buy a solution that will solve this problem? You have this engagement as well. This is where you do all of these things, right? After you've created your user stories, your process flows, and everything, you have back and forth to your stakeholders to be sure that everything has been properly captured. After that, the next thing you then do is to then document your requirements. Everything you've done so far, you put them in a document. You produce a detailed business requirement document. The rest when you hear BRD comes after you've gathered requirements, you've validated, and you've verified. So after you've created your BRD, sometimes you might also create other supporting documents like your FRD, which is a functional requirements document that will have your user stories, your acceptance criteria, and all those other interesting stuff. We will learn about all of this in coming sessions, don't worry. So after you've done that, I believe you can now see how this thing flows from when you start on a project and you keep going, the activities and tasks you're expected to be doing across different levels within the project life cycle, right? So after you've done that, you ensure that this document that you've done is clear, is wholesome, that it is complete, and it is traceable. You can trace the requirement in your document to the different test cases. We're going to learn traceability as well. After you've put all of this in the document, you then ensure that you get proper sign-off from your stakeholders. Your project sponsor must sign, project manager, IT lead, that is technology, CTO, depending on your structure of your organization. They must all sign this project. It must come together and sign this project, right? Then the next thing you then want to do after you've gotten your sign off, you have your BRD, you have your requirements and all, work will then begin. Of course, this is where you support project implementation. So firstly, you take your user stories, depending on the methodology that you are using. If you're not using Agile, you might not really maybe go through this route, but you now start assigning story points. So story points are like, how long will it take your developers to solve a particular, to fix or to develop a particular user story? So you give story points, you assign story points, you align with your devs, you get all of these things done. You set up stand-up meetings. Stand-up meetings are meetings that you do every morning, 15 minutes, where your developers tell you what was done yesterday, what their blockers are, and what you are going or what they are going to do today. You collaborate with them on this deep level, on this detailed level, you collaborate with your solution architects to map out how the solution will be, draw Figma screens, you collaborate more with your developers, your UX designers. Basically, you have meetings back and forth with them. Then also, you are ensuring at every point that the solution aligns your business needs. So once your developers start building, you don't wait till they get to the end before you start doing demos. After they've built any feature, you touch base with your stakeholders to say, we've done this. Is this what you really want? So if there are changes, you're able to fail fast and make those changes faster instead of waiting for it to be done. After which, you are also involved in supporting prototyping and design reviews. And during stand-ups, you are clarifying requirements. So maybe there's something your developers doesn't understand. You are always on standby to help them understand these things and clarify these things, right? This is how, like these are the things that you'll be doing during project implementation. Then you're also communicating to your stakeholders back and forth. Although in a very structured environment, your project management team would cover the communication and updates of projects. But sometimes you're also required to give updates to your team, to give updates to your stakeholders, and to have everyone abreast of what the development stage or what the development level is, right? So after and I also want to mention that some of this is not a linear process, right? It is not linear. So you could have done the first two, you go back, or the first three, you go back to the first one again. So it is not a linear or a straight process. It's a continuous thing. You can do the fifth one and go back to the first one. So supporting of project implementation is something you continuously do, or you continually do within the project life cycle, right? Then finally, you've deployed something, you support the testing of that deployment. So you should assist the QA. This is where you are assisting the quality assurance guy to define test cases and test scenarios, because you understand the requirements gathered. So now work has been built. Developer have told you, I will build this thing. Oh, okay, guys, pass it to QA. QA is quality assurance. They pass it to QA. Then you're now working closely with QA to define test cases. Test cases are what quality QA guys use to test different features or your user stories, right? And you're now ensuring that you're mapping each requirement to a test case. That is traceability and test scenarios. Then in most cases, you are the one supporting user acceptance testing. You are organizing demos, you are facilitating UATs, you are pushing for profiling of your stakeholders or your users on your platform so they can test, and you're getting test feedback and results as well. Then you're also validating that what you've done, what has been built, actually meets the documented requirements. So these are the things that you're expected to be doing here after the work has been done, after implementation has been done, which is this part. You supported project implementation. Implementation has now been done and completed and deployed to the test environment, right? Which is where your stakeholders, everybody gets to test it first and confirm that everything is fine. That whole process of confirming that everything is fine is on you as a BA, right? Now, everything is now fine. You're now supporting the next thing, which is this. You're now supporting with deployment and change management. So this is where you are ensuring that after they've confirmed, that everything is fine, they sign off the UAT document. Very, very important. You prepare a UAT document. UAT is user acceptance testing, and you send it again to your stakeholders to say you have tested this thing and you're fine with it. Kindly sign off this stuff, and so that we can move on to the next thing. After you do this right, you then go ahead to support deployment. Oh, we've gotten sign off from our stakeholders and they're all fine. Some organizations use what we call CAB, Change Advisory Board, to approve every change. So sometimes you are required to take your solution to CAB. It is also your function as a BA to manage the entire process. You present it to CAB. CAB is like an advisory board or a body within the organization that will look through the change, the impact and everything and say, okay, fine, you can deploy. Now you must ensure that that deployment is done within a good time and everything they will need to deploy has been made available to them. You are not the one deploying. The solution is in test environment. There is a live environment that will now be available to your users. In case there's a pilot, this is also where pilot comes in, your support testing and all. You do your pilot. So pilot is basically you've deployed, but you deploy to just a segment of your users for them to have real tests on the live environment and then give you feedback. You know, testing on test environment sometimes could be different. There are some things that you might not see or you might miss out on. But when your user starts testing, they get to see it themselves. This video has already gotten to 40 minutes. I think we might need to break this into I'll do another session on failingly to now discuss the case study. So sorry about the delay. So let's really wrap up with this. So you then, as a stakeholder, sorry, as a business analyst, ensure that deployment is done. And after deployment is done, all of the announcements, the communication with the end users, the training materials, the user guides and manuals, the frequently asked questions, documentations, and everything, you are the one who is going to prepare it. You also assist with the rollout strategy. Maybe you have an in-house product manager. You assist with that, the release plan and everything. You document everything and then ensure that the change readiness and post-implementation reviews and feedback structure is on ground. So that once you deploy, you start sending out surveys to users, collect feedback, know what to tweak and all. Then the next thing is now your solution evaluation as a BA. Very, very important. You now start assessing your project, your solution, whether it actually meets your business goals. How do you do this? You observe people watching, you send out surveys, you collect feedback, and then you recommend solutions where needed. And again, like I said, this is a continuous process. It is not a one-off. You would go back and forth, within this entire life cycle, and then you achieve what you want to achieve. So this is the BA life cycle in detail and in practice. If we had enough time, we would have looked through this case study. That is how a BA can improve customer onboarding for a health insurance company. This has been something I would have loved us to look at, but not to worry, I'll be doing this case study for us in the next video. Or if we can spare the next 10 minutes to quickly look at this, right, we can also quickly do that. I think we should. So now we are looking at this case study. We want to improve the customer onboarding for a health insurance company. So our insurance company is ABC Insurance, right? And want to improve how they get to onboard their customers. So the first thing, of course, what is this business about? ABC Health is a health insurance company with a wide range of retail and corporate clients. That means they have individuals buying their health insurance policy, and they have companies coming to buy for maybe their staff, right? And then their customer onboarding process, especially for retail, is slow, manual, and error prone. So this is the issue, resulting in delays, customer satisfaction, dissatisfaction, and lost revenue. In fact, when we discussed with their CX lead, this is what she had to say. We've had a growing number of complaints about how long it takes to enroll new clients. Many of them drop off midway because of the back and forth with documentation or with documents and delayed confirmation. So there are approval issues and all. Now, as a business analyst, we want to see how we can solve this and how we can review this across different scenarios we've seen, right? So the first thing you want to do, like I mentioned, the BA life cycle is for you to understand the business context, right? You want to know why. Why are we embarking on this improving customer onboarding project for the health business? Why, what are the objectives? What are the goals? So this is where the first step to do is to have discovery meetings. You call the CX team lead, that is CX is customer experience, and you're like, what exactly is happening? Let's talk. What are the complaints that you're having? What are the escalations? You speak to them. This is where you schedule. Remember, I said you get to schedule meetings with your project stakeholders. You also speak to the onboarding team or the enrollment team to say, what are the issues you're having? Let me even understand your process. What are the issues with this process? This is when you are assigned on a project now. You talk to the sales rep. Like, from what you've been seeing so far, sales rep, where do our customers drop off? And what is the turnaround time it takes to onboard our customers? You speak to your IT team. Our current onboarding tool, what is it looking like? What is the current capability, this is where you're having discovery of what the entire context is. Then the next thing is, if there are documents, you also review them. You review existing documents. Oh, there are onboarding audit reports that have been done before. So you get to look at this report. Okay, this report is now telling you that it takes an average of 9 to 10 days to onboard our customers from all the data you've reviewed. You look at the logs of the delayed sign-ups. You've seen the heat maps of where your customers drop off during the onboarding process. There has been some survey data that has been sent out, survey forms that have been sent out to customers. You were able to look at that data and you saw that the net promoter score has dropped over time, right? Because customers are not happy. You're even able to see the qualitative feedback that was sent, right? Then the next thing you want to do is to then document your findings, right? So everything you found out from your discovery meetings, from your review of your existing documents, you document it. Oh, I was able to find out that customer current onboarding takes 7 to 14 days. Okay, good. Whenever they give us their ID cards, we have to manually verify this, check, prove, go to their houses to check whether they actually live where they say, confirm their payment. And this takes a whole lot of time. In fact, this takes 5 days. You document it. From what I've seen so far, what I've heard, 30% of our customers drop out before being completely onboarded because of this lengthy stuff. You document that as well. Then you send these documentations to your stakeholders. So this is what I found out. Does it align with the issues that you already have? Sometimes they may know, sometimes they might not know, but you just need to double validate with them. After you do that, the next thing is now, okay, that's when you're assigned on a project, right? So for a case where you are then identifying, you are the one initiating the project by identifying the business need, or maybe even if you are assigned on a project, you still want to take it a notch further to be sure that what you've seen as a problem is actually a problem. This is where, as a business analyst, you now start observing. Now say, okay, you go to the onboarding team to go and observe them. We already said observation is of two types, active and passive, right? You observe, from your observation, you can see that customers have to email documents back and forth. You send a document, oh, your document is not complete, this is send another one, they send blah 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 blah. You see that verification takes 3 to 5 days due to multiple layers of manual checking and all. Then there is no real-time feedback to customers, right? These are the things you've observed. Then sometimes observation is not even enough, right? So sometimes observation is not enough. You even go ahead to do interviews, right? Informal interviews, just to understand what is really happening on a deeper level with the guys that are facing the problem. You could possibly talk to a customer, they tell you, man, I'm tired. You spoke to the customer, you got, I'm tired of sending this same document 2 times. It's frustrating. I can't do this again. I had to go and join another person. I had to meet another company to do this. Like, this other company, you speak to a sales rep, they tell you that we try to onboard them. Once they have issues, they just run to the next to the competitor. You speak to about 10 new customers, or you survey your sales rep, your IT team, and they give you more context into this issue. Then the next thing you want to do is to ensure that this problem that you've just validated, right? This is the process of validating your problem. This problem that you just validated actually aligns with your company strategy for the year. So maybe there's a pillar of your company strategy that says, I want to grow your retail business by 25%. You can't grow your retail business if they have issues with onboarding, right? So now you then see that, okay, there's an alignment here. Great. This is where you then go ahead to write your business case, right? You develop your business case such that it captures everything you've seen so far, and then you document your business case. So a business case is basically a justification for a problem that you've seen. You want to solve a problem that you've identified, but you need to justify it with a case. You need to make a case for it. And you make a case for project when you are the one initiating the project. For most of the time, for projects that are assigned to you, the justification have already been done with either the project management team or the strategy team or management. So your own is just to go ahead to implement. But when you're identifying a problem or you're identifying an issue, you are expected to develop a business case. Now you are, as a BA, you then provide a robust business case for an onboarding platform. an automated onboarding platform that would meet the issue or the problem or solve the problem that you found. First part of your business case is a problem statement. Very concise, straight to the point, and tells the story. ABC Health's retail onboarding process is manual and time consuming, leading to a high drop-off rate and a long cycle time, which impacts customer satisfaction and limits revenue growth. Everybody can see that that is a problem already. Then the next part of it is now to write a solution. It's not enough for you to just say, I found this problem, oh, let's solve it. You're also proposing that this is what I think would solve this. I want us to implement a centralized digital onboarding portal that enables document upload, electronic verification, automated validation, and real-time onboarding tracking for both customers and sales rep. You've taken the problem, dissected it, and you're able to come up with a solution that meets that problem. And you include it in your business case document. And you could go ahead to even define some of the features that your problem, that your solution would have. You should have an online form submission. That is a form where customers are able to put in their details when they want to get onboarded. Real-time document verification, maybe via integration with national ID database. Maybe your Verify Me, maybe your NIMC database and all. And there should be a dashboard to show the different onboarding status tracking, right? When you start onboarding someone, you have to be able to track how they are progressing across this. That way you can easily tell where people are falling off. You can tell what the issues are. Then when they are missing documents, the system should be able to alert you. So these are some features that you also define in your solution statement. After you've written your problem and your solution statement in your business case, the next thing is now to define what your value is going to be. This project, when we do it, when we solve this problem, what value would it be? Your stakeholders or your management are interested in knowing what value is and against what cost. So now you're like, okay, we have efficiency. By efficiency, we mean that we'll be reducing our onboarding time from 5 to 10 days to just 2 days. Who wouldn't want that? You say revenue growth. We are going to be improving conversion rates from 54% to 75%. I mean, when people are onboarded faster, it is more money for us. We get to onboard more people in a day, thereby they'll be able to buy more policies in a day. Customer experience. Who doesn't want to serve their customers better? When we implement the solution, we'll be able to boost our net promoter score, which is NPS score, from 35 to 60 plus. Then with this solution, we'll be able to have better compliance, better audit trails, and automated validation. These are the benefits that your solution is going to bring across. You document it in your business case, right? Then the next thing is now cost. Very, very important. What is the estimated cost that would incur by solving this problem or by implementing this solution? Remember that as a BA, you are checking this cost against what is the cost of actually doing nothing, right? So now it's okay. Software licensing, for us to get license to run this software cost us maybe $20,000, for instance. Then custom development, to build this from scratch will cost us $15,000. Maybe the amount it take to pay your developers, hire stronger hands. Then training and change management. You need someone that will come and train your people, and all of those will cost, or the travels it will take to go and be training your sales reps in different locations, $5,000. Everything total cost is $40,000. You also include all of the costs that will be incurred by implementing the solution in your business case. The next thing, because you want your business case to be very, very convincing and to show that you actually thought of this, remember your goal here is that you want to get the buy-in of your stakeholders so that they can approve this project and then you solve it, right? So the next thing is now to give them the impression that you've actually thought about this long and hard enough. Then you come up with your risk and mitigation, possible risk or barriers or constraints that would not make you be able to achieve this project. So if we implement the solution, we might face resistance to the new system by our sales guys. So how do we mitigate this? We provide training and phased rollout. We'll not just roll out everything at once. Would face our rollout so that it will be easy to adopt. Then there could be integration complexity. This is a risk. So what we are going to be doing is we are going to conduct early tech feasibility, So we are going to be conducting early tech feasibility analysis to be sure that our technical capability can actually implement this solution. Then we'll do vendor analysis as well to be sure whether we have enough resources, enough human resources to build this, or we just need to buy off the shelf. Then you also have data security concerns. This is a risk, right? This is a compliance risk. You get to then know where you get to apply encryption, access controls, what you do with existing data, what is the rule, what is your company's rule with data migration and all of those things. You document it in your business case, right? After which you then map the scope of your project. So for this particular project, for us to have an MVP, what MVP means, minimum viable product. Sometimes for your business case, you don't need to talk about the entire project. You just want to give them an idea of what the solution is going to be that will solve the problem. So for us, this is where you define the project scope. So my project is going to have, or my solution would have, eKYC integration. It's going to have the customer upload portal, and it's going to have the admin dashboard. So you document this, you are detailed enough, and then you also give timeline, because they want to be able to know that if I am able to implement this MVP or this solution and it will solve this problem, how long will it take? Then you now break down, okay, planning and design, understanding the business context, designing the solution will take me roughly 2 weeks. Then the main development and integration, from what I see, is going to take 6 weeks. These are estimates. Testing, when we are done integrating, we test, we do pilot and all. That should take me 2 weeks. Then roll out will take me 2 weeks. These are everything you would need to put in your business case. And remember, your business case, you are going to be presenting it to your stakeholders, to your project sponsor, to your management, so they can say, yes, we approve this. Go ahead to now start working on this project. This is where you now implement the other part, which is your BA planning, engaging your stakeholders, building rapport with them and all. So to summarize your business case document, you have the problem, the section of problem, which is the manual onboarding and long turnaround, high customer drop-offs. You have, okay, what is the solution? A digital onboarding platform with automated verification. What is the value that this solution is going to bring? It will help us with faster onboarding, better experience for our customers, and more conversions for us. That is revenue. How much will this cost us? Roughly $40,000 thereabouts. How long would it take for us to have an MVP that would show that this is actually viable and would solve our problems? It will take us 3 months. How does this fit into our strategy? This actually aligns with our CX and revenue growth goals. You see how we are able to make a case for the solution and for the problem we saw, and also propose a solution alongside all the other elements. This is how you function as a business analyst in this project. So that's it, guys. Let me know in the comment section if you're able to learn a thing or two. If you have questions, I'll be very, very happy to answer them. We've come to the end of today's session. In subsequent videos, we'll be seeing things around need analysis, root cause analysis, requirements gathering, and all of those. We might not follow that entire chain, but these are the things we'll be covering and more in this module 2 of our business analysis learning series. Thank you very much for watching this far. Thanks so much for your time. I hope you've been able to learn a thing or two. And if you are here and you're yet to subscribe, kindly do so. Subscribe to the channel, turn on your bell, turn on the notification button, so that whenever I drop more videos like this, you'll be able to you'll be notified and you'll be able to watch. Please like these videos, share it with your friends. I wouldn't just want you to be learning and taking in this information for free and not share with other people to come and learn as well. So I would implore you to do so. Comment, ask questions. And you can also follow me on LinkedIn. I am Victor Ondukwe on LinkedIn. And I am Victor across all social media platforms. The Victor, that is the name of my YouTube channel. You can follow me and I'll be happy to engage and have further conversations with you. Thank you very much for your time, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.